everybody. This video is going to talk about variable expressions as inputs of functions, problem type 1. This is very similar to evaluating some functions at a certain point, but now instead of a number that we plug in for x, we're going to plug in a variable. So this first one would be f of negative z. Wherever we have an x in this function, we're going to plug in negative z instead. So 3 times negative z squared, or x squared, plus 5. So this is 3, and then negative z squared is negative z times negative z, which becomes a positive z plus 5. So our answer to this one is just 3z plus 5, which is very similar to the original problem, but now we have to use the z because that's what variable we're interested in. Okay. Let's continue. Let's say we now have this function, f of x equals 2x squared minus 5x plus 1. We're supposed to find f of a plus 1. So this means our input is not just x like it was here, but it's the entire a plus 1. It's almost like a function inside of a function. Okay? F of a plus 1 equals 2. Now wherever there's an x, we plug in this a plus 1. So 2 times a plus 1 squared minus 5 times a plus 1 plus 1. Alright, and now we have to square this a plus 1. Remember, a plus 1 squared is a plus 1 times a plus 1. So we have to multiply a times a and a times 1, 1 times a and 1 times 1. This is the double distribute, or some people call it FOIL. I like to call it double distribute because FOIL doesn't make any sense to me. So this is going to be 2, and then we're going to have a squared plus 2a when we simplify all this down, plus 1, minus 5 times a plus 1 plus 1. Okay, now you have to make sure that whatever you do, you multiply before you just say, okay, this is just 2a squared. This 2 needs to be multiplied through to each of those 3 terms. Same with the 5. So this is going to be 2a squared plus 2 times 2a, which is 4a, plus 2 times 1, which is 2. And then negative 5, make sure you do not forget that minus sign, is negative 5 times a is negative 5a, negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, and we add 1. Now remember, in case this confused you right here, this is the same thing as adding a negative 5, right? So we have a negative 5 out front being multiplied by this entire a plus 1. Okay, so now we can combine like terms. There's only one a squared, 2a squared. Then we have a 4 plus 4a and a minus 5a. So that becomes minus a. Then we have a plus 2, a minus 5, and a plus 1. So 2 minus 5 is negative 3, plus 1 is negative 2. So our answer, f of a plus 1, becomes 2a squared minus a minus 2.